This was one of the strangest flights anyone had ever seen. If you arrived even a second late, you weren't allowed on board. One traveler stumbled right before entering and missed it by a second. The flight attendant smiled and shut the door in his face. During the security check, things got even weirder. A passenger with a luxury bag had it tossed into a blender by an officer who seemed annoyed. But if someone had a cheap, worn-out bag, it was thrown aside with no care. Inside the plane, flight attendants didn't ask anyone to switch off their phones. Safety wasn't the priority, keeping the passengers entertained was. The only person doing their job right was the pilot, who managed to lift off successfully. After the plane was in the air, the pilot celebrated his first successful takeoff in 2 decades with a glass of wine. Unfortunately, he spilled it on the control panel, and both he and his co-pilot were electrocuted instantly. For 5 hours, the aircraft flew without movement. Finally, the lead attendant went to check and discovered the pilots were unresponsive. He turned to the onboard officer for help, but that officer was seated beside a dangerous prisoner. After much convincing, the officer agreed to investigate. Another passenger sensed something was off and quietly followed. When they saw the pilots, panic set in. The officer calmed him, saying he was once a top Air Force pilot. Suddenly, the prisoner broke free and attacked the officer. The other man was so shocked that he fainted and woke up tied next to the deceased pilots. Realizing he had to act fast, he tried to revive them, but they were gone. With no choice, he decided to learn how to fly. He remembered that films often showed a lever for emergencies. He pulled one by mistake, and just then, the control tower made contact and gave him instructions. The message said to activate the autopilot system. He looked down at the lever in his hand. It really was the autopilot control. Meanwhile, the prisoner had taken a flight attendant hostage, demanding to know where the parachutes were. She refused to speak. Then, in an odd act meant to scare her, he fed dog food to a cat. Disturbed, she gave up the parachute location. The prisoner grabbed one, opened the plane door, and jumped. Panic broke out. Some passengers took selfies in the chaos. The prisoner opened his parachute, but he was immediately sucked into the engine, causing it to fail. Now time was running out. Desperate, the man reached for his phone to look up how to land a plane. But without a subscription, he had to wait through 5 minutes of ads. After the ads, a young boy on a video began explaining step by step. By following the tutorial, they were able to deploy the landing gear. The last instruction was to switch on autopilot, something the man had already done. Feeling stuck, he nearly gave up. Just then, the original pilot started to wake up. But here was the twist: the pilot was actually a trained monkey. With the monkey's help, the man and the rest of the crew managed to safely land the plane. Everyone on board became a hero that day. Now tell me, if you were offered a seat on this flight, would you take it?